travel advisory, tourism, cricket, trade, and especially education, specifically for girls, seeking to create a deep living bridge between Pakistan and UK and changing the outdated and misplaced perceptions about our beautiful country with more empowered girls and women. With not much further ado, I would like to ask His Excellency Dr. Christian Turner to be here and say his opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you for those kind words. Khawateen or Hazrat, Honourable Minister, friends from across the government and the private sector, distinguished guests, I'm absolutely delighted to be here with you today to talk about probably one of the most important issues we discuss in Pakistan. And for all that I am happy to be a good news ambassador, I'm happy to do everything I can to further strengthen and deepen the close partnership, the close ties and the close friendship between our two countries. This issue, perhaps more than any other, is one that it is absolutely right for us to talk about. मुझे बहुत खुशी है कि हम सब लड़कियों के तालीम और ख़वातीन को बाइख्तियार बनाने के लिए बात कर रहे हैं और मुझे उम्मीद है कि हम सब के मेहनत से ये मंजिल आसान होगी. That is the end of my Karab Urdu, so I'm very sorry for that. Girls' education is a priority for the UK government, and empowering girls and women is something that our Prime Minister Boris Johnson has long said is one of his top priorities, and indeed his first speech as Prime Minister on the steps of Downing Street, he underlined his pledge that every girl in the world should receive 12 years of quality education no matter where she is born. And that's why we have this leave no girl behind phrase, and it's a clear commitment to the top of the British government priorities. He describes girls' education as a Swiss Army knife. Now, for those of you who know about these things, it's a knife that has multiple applications to do just about anything you want. And that's because for all of the development data, we know that one of the strongest factors, if you look at the patterns of growth and development, is girls in secondary education. If you can get the girls through into secondary education, it is a very, very strong correlation to a country's growth and development. And that's why the Prime Minister has put his commitment behind it. That's why he announced at the UN last year nearly £500 million for education that the UK was putting into this. And I'm particularly pleased to commend the work of DFID in this sense, and that they, in their programming, put this into action, not just words. And this audience doesn't need any reminder of the extraordinary record of DFID in this country, the fantastic work over many years that they have done. And Minister, you and I have discussed on many occasions that really it is the gold standard of a development partner for DFID's commitment on education. And we have many existing programs which are continuing this. A Girls' Education Challenge Fund established in 2012, which has provided opportunities for up to 1 million marginalised girls. The Platform for Girls' Education, which was announced at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in 2018, which brings together experts and influential figures. And then multilaterally, the UK being the largest donor to the Global Partnership for Education, the GPE, the Education Cannot Wait initiative, and the upcoming International Partnership for Education, all of which ensure that we have the global platforms to work together to deliver for the most marginalised girls. And all of those are specific here to Pakistan. The Minister and I, as we came in, were looking at some of the quite innovative uses of technology in this field. I think the way in which you can use apps and remote learning to help include young girls and adolescent girls in education, I think is very powerful. And indeed, as we are all looking carefully at the global response to coronavirus, this use of innovative technology, I think, is even more relevant than it was before. Specifically, The UK's support in Pakistan has benefited, we calculate, 10 million children in primary schools and around 6 million in secondary schools, almost half of which are girls. And Idara-e-Talim or Agahi is doing a stellar job in implementing a DFID-funded girls' education program in South Punjab, empowering adolescent out-of-school girls by giving them a second chance at education. And that's what we are here to celebrate and promote. Thank you. So, Minister, I know that you and this government absolutely share this vision with us, and we are aligned in our determination, and I'd like to thank you for your partnership and your friendship as we do this. And I should note how impressed I am by the ESAS program, as it aims to target the most marginalized in society, in including women. And in sum, I am a firm believer that without investing in women and girls and giving them equal opportunities, Pakistan, no country, Pakistan included, cannot reach its full potential. And of course, I say this not just as an ambassador, as a High Commissioner, but as the father myself of an adolescent girl. Her name is Constance. She's 14 years old, and I know day to day how important the opportunities she has are, how it's easy for her to take it for granted, and how we must not take that for granted as we look at these figures of the number of girls who are not in education. If we give this generation a voice and a choice, they will shine and make us proud. And girls' education is the way we do that. So with that sense of a voice and a choice in mind, I am looking forward to hearing about today's discussions. I hope that the panelists, the progress you've made, will help us discuss how we can do more together to achieve that. And personally, you have my continued pledge to support Pakistan in achieving gender equality and women's empowerment. पाकिस्तान की कामयाबी के लिए लड़कियों की तालीम अहम है, यानी आपका काम बहुत अहम है. बहुत शुक्रिया.
Oh my goodness, क्या बात है. क्या उर्दू है. और थोड़ी देर में शायरी भी करने लगेंगे, मुझे यकीन है. और शायद पहली शेर या पहली पोएम इनकी लड़कियों की तालीम के ऊपर ही होगी. तो I hold you to that. You want to soon hear a poem from you whilst your tenure is in Pakistan on girls' education. Inshallah. May I have a question to just sit towards you? Yes. So, thank you, Dr. Turner, for being the host of Leave No Girl Behind, scaling up what works for adolescent girls in Pakistan. And it is a tremendous milestone that you're initiating today as the host of this event, as did your predecessor, because he also hosted another event on October 7th, just before the royal visit to Pakistan, which really created a great halo of positive relationships and, of course, the promotion by the Duchess and the Duke for girls' education. We kept hearing it again and again. And I'm very privileged that Joanna Roper, who is the envoy, global envoy for gender equality on behalf of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, that we could launch this, as I also happen to be the member of the Platform for Girls' Education of FCO. So we may share this passion for gender equality, unlocking the doors to health, economic empowerment, climate change, and intergenerational sustainability. This is so exciting, and just to let everyone know that we are reaching 37,000 girls by the end of 2021 March. So this is going to be so wonderful that we would like to see at least 1 million, if not more, adolescent girls reached by similar programs across Pakistan. 12 years of education, no less. And with that, I have the great privilege to welcome our chief guest, the Honorable Shafkat Mahmood Saab, Federal Minister for Education and Professional Training, who has been hailed as one of the most enlightened ministers who's been championing the cause of education to end the apartheid of difference and discrimination. Bagair kisi tafreeq ke ek nisab. And more than that, for seeking progressive solutions, what he had earmarked the moment he stepped in, ensuring that millions out of school girls and boys must get their quality education as a fundamental entitlement given by our Constitution, Article number 25A. through most contemporary solutions. I know he's been looking at technologies, innovations, something to leapfrog what we need to do in order to bridge the gaps that we have. We are really honored to have him as a chief guest today, and I hope a great champion for Leave No Girl Behind campaign, and certainly scaling up for what works for girls' education and adolescent girls. We take this opportunity to invite him to visit the program, sir, speak about it, come and visit it in the districts of Muzaffargarh, Bhagalpur and Rohingya Khan, and see how it can go across the whole country. This is a solution not specific to South Punjab. It just started there because the need was there, and we had great partnerships. This program works with partnerships. So, sir, we'd like you to come and share your remarks as a chief guest, and I hope we will see you as a great champion of this entire campaign. Shafkat Mahmood Sahab, our chief guest.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Bela, for a very, very kind introduction. I hope I can live up to the billing, shall I say. But thank you for inviting me to this event. Obviously, we are fully behind it. We want all girls to get education. We can't move forward without girls' education, but we are living in difficult times, and the impact of coronavirus is impacting a lot of things, but is also impacting education. And governments all over the world have to take difficult decisions, how to respond to this challenge. Some countries have completely closed down all educational institutions. Others have not. I think we are collectively struggling to find the right fit on how to tackle this very difficult problem. And although the reported cases in Pakistan are not very high, but we have to prepare ourselves, seeing what is happening in so many other countries. So some of the tough decisions that we will have to take would be in the field of education. The National Security Committee is meeting this evening, and one of the obvious decisions would be how do we respond in the field of education. So this is a new challenge, and we are dealing with other challenges which have been historically there. And one of the major challenges is the education of girls. I think social mores are changing, but we are still struggling against some of the social barriers against girls' education. But one of the barriers that we are also struggling against is access, because many of the parents are reluctant to have their girls go far away from home to get education. So I believe there is some distance actually worked out where parents feel safe for their children to go and study. But we have to improve, as a nation, we have to improve access to girls' education. Once we improve access, then more and more girls will probably have the parental kind of support to go and seek education. The second difficulty, again, which is related to access, and I'm not talking about the will. The will is there now. As we are moving forward, the will for girls' education is rapidly rising. People are coming to this conclusion that they need everybody in the family to be educated, and I think it's fairly widespread. But then there are difficulties, and one of the difficulties also is that we have primary schools, but we don't have secondary schools. So that's also an access problem. So many girls go to for some years of education and then give up because the secondary schools are far away from home. So in that case, we've started a program for multiple usage of buildings where we are trying to have secondary schools in the same building in the afternoon and pay some extra to the teachers. And our ministry is also working very rapidly on programs where we can specifically scale up this particular program of having multiple usage of the same buildings. So the third area where I think there is a huge potential, and that is technology. We have met some friends here who are already working in technology in the field of education. But I think that has a huge potential. Why I see that as a huge potential is because we are able to leapfrog many of the barriers and hurdles that we have today. Even access issues can, in some ways or the other, if we use the right technology, if we create the right environment, it would be possible to use technology to reach many of the girls who are not going on to study. If they can be taught near their home through some technological innovation, that has the potential to have a great impact. On our part, the government has this year launched the most comprehensive scholarship program ever in the history of the country. We have allocated 5 billion rupees for undergraduate scholarships. And let me say with some little pride that 50% of these scholarships will be given to girls. So 25,000 girls would be getting undergraduate scholarships this year. Actually, if we go purely by merit, the last event that I attended regarding the results of the FA/FSC exam, it was very interesting that I think there were about 30 recipients of top honors and medals and so on and so forth, and 27 of them were girls, and only 3 boys were part of that event. So clearly girls are studying harder, are less distracted, the boys are all over the place. So in fact, one medical doctor told me that we may soon have to have a quota for boys in medical schools because not enough of them are qualified. But then we are also facing challenges after education also, because unfortunately a large number of the girls who are educated, who get professional degrees, do not continue in their profession. And that's a problem. So I think among the challenges that we face in the field of education, we also need to be cognizant of the fact that after they finish education, why is it that so many of them do not go on to professional careers? So we have to create the enabling environment for that. Incidentally, in Islamabad, which directly comes under the federal ministry, there are 75 schools girls' schools, which have been equipped with the best possible labs. So our small contribution towards female girls' education. I want to commend Dara Talim-e-Agahi for the work that they are doing in South Punjab for girls' education, and we will do whatever we can. But I want to particularly, personally thank Dr. Christine Turner for clearly some other events are beginning to draw our attention away from what has already been accomplished, the coronavirus business. But the fact that an MCC team was here, the fact that travel advisories have been sort of reissued or withdrawn, British Airways have started flights to Pakistan. A lot of it is due to the High Commissioner. I'm very grateful to you. I think it would be appropriate to thank DFID. DFID has been our most assiduous, wonderful partner in the field of education for many years now. And they're really helped the provincial governments, especially in school education. So we are very grateful to DFID for what they have done. So as we move forward, and I may be sounding slightly grim because there are challenging times that we live in these days. So while we face the threat of this global pandemic, we have to keep our eye on the ball and make sure that our goals that we have set for ourselves in education, we continue to move forward towards those goals. So thank you very much again. And lastly, I forgot to mention that even in the vocational training, we've launched a very huge program in vocational training in which we are spending 10 billion this year in different aspects of vocational training. And among them, 50,000 people will be trained for high-end trades, blockchain, Internet of Things, big data, artificial intelligence, and 50% of those are also going to be girls. So we are doing a little bit on our part to make sure that there's... So thank you very much again, and look forward to the deliberations of this conference.
Okay, sir. If you can just stand right here. May I request Dr. Turner to please come here, and we will have our students. हमारी 6 बच्चियां आई हुई हैं मुजफ्फरगढ़ और बहावलपुर से और रहीमिया खान से. ये सियानी सहेलियां हैं. ये वो उम्मीद के सितारे हैं जिन्होंने आसमान तक जाना है, कुछ नहीं इनको रोक सकता. तो it will be wonderful to have our 2 amazing champions for girls' education be framed by the students, the Siyani Sahelian program, advancing action for adolescent girls. और बहुत सारे लोग already आ गए, मगर may I request Annabelle, who's here, Gary, the head of DFID, to please come, as well as Saima Anwar, who's led this program, to come on the stage as well, because really these are the stars of the program. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. It's just been amazing. A big round of applause for our amazing champions for girls education. और ये सियानी सहेलियां अल्लाह करे millions तक multiply करें. But this is a wonderful beginning to our day. I know this is a tough day. So many things are being cancelled. और उम्मीद है कि कोरोना वायरस के लिए भी ये लड़कियां जदीद कुछ solutions ढूंढेंगी और वहाँ पे अपने जाके वहाँ पे भी उसका शोर फैलाएंगी. क्योंकि अब तो नए लफ्ज ढूंढ रहे हैं. सोशल डिस्टेंस बुरा मनाया जाता था कि गलत लफ्ज है, एक मनफी लफ्ज है. Now social distance is not a negative term anymore. It is the most positive term for coronavirus. Thank you very much. We will now go into our second segment of our program. A very exciting segment. Thank you very much. A big round of applause, please. And the only request to both our honorable guests is that as you go, there is a red wall there. Please make your statements, make your pledges for girls' education. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया सबका और मैं खुशामदीद कहती हूँ हमारे स्टूडेंट्स भी अब आ गए हैं, they've also joined. मगर ये सियानी सहेली क्या है? What is the magic? And I'm really pleased to see that today we have wonderful champions of education and media who are with us. We have with us Dr. Ida Girma, who's the UNICEF country representative over here as well. We've got Dr. Zeba Sattar, who's the country director for Population Council, who's already there. We've got Sharbeen Obeid-Tenoy, who's flown in just this morning to be here to show solidarity. और उन्होंने तो इतना कुछ काम किया कि बहुत ही मजा आएगा हमें सुन के कि वो क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे. हमारे साथ दानिश जब्बार खान है, CEO कारवान के. थोड़ी ही देर में सुल्ताना सिद्दीकी साहिबा भी आ जाएंगी, नाजिया सहर भी यहाँ पे है, सना मसूद है, बिल्किस तारा है, शराकत की चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव. सो इट्स वंडरफुल टू सी चैंपियंस जो कि यहाँ से खबर लेकर जाएंगे और बहुत दूर तक फैलाएंगे. और हमारे स्टूडेंट्स और स्टूडेंट टीचर्स जो आए हैं फेडरल कॉलेज ऑफ एजुकेशन से, टीच फॉर पाकिस्तान के हमारे अमेजिंग यंग पायनियर्स who will again take many lessons from here. So thank you all for being here, showing solidarity, and of course our solution providers, including Ed Kasa and her gown, which means with Anam Sadek as well as Sadaf Naz. Thank you. I can't really thank all of you enough. We want to hear what is the magic. ये क्या जादू है सियानी सहेलियाँ, और मुझे बहुत खुशी हो रही है कि उसके क्या हदफ है, क्या उसके कोर एलिमेंट्स हैं, उसकी अर्ली फाइंडिंग्स क्या है एक्सटर्नल इवैल्यूएशन की, क्योंकि 22,000 बच्चे हम ऑलरेडी रीच कर चुके हैं तकरीबन. और सबा सईद जो हमारी सीनियर प्रोग्राम मैनेजर हैं, जिन्होंने, जो मैं समझती हूँ खुद, she's a great young leader along with many other great young leaders over here, spearheading the Advancing Action for Adolescent Girls program. She will share the core aspects of the program, so at least we are more engaged and understand what the nuts and bolts are and how can we scale it up. Sabha Saeed, over to you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for coming. I'm here to share with you a brief presentation on IT's flagship program on girls' education. The program is called Siyani Sahelian, as Bela mentioned, and in English it's called Advancing Action for Adolescent Girls. The program aims to empower out-of-school adolescent girls aged 9 to 19 through post-primary learning opportunities, TVET and life skills. मिनिस्टर साहब भी अभी हमारी तवज्जो इसी बात की तरफ दिला रहे थे कि पाकिस्तान is faced with twin challenges of access and quality. There are less secondary schools than primary schools, there are less middle schools than primary schools, more girls than boys remain out of school. हमारा drop out rate बहुत बढ़ जाता है post primary levels पे, जबकि girls के लिए facilities भी schools में उतनी advanced नहीं है. इस सब context में we initiated this program in June 2018 in 3 districts of South Punjab, Muzaffargarh, Bahawalpur and Rahim Yar Khan. और ये districts भी हमने इनकी PSL की डेटा की बेस पे सिलेक्ट किए, जहाँ पे आपकी प्रॉब्लम्स बहुत ज़्यादा हैं, ड्रॉप आउट रेट गर्ल्स का बहुत ज़्यादा है, प्रिविलेंस ऑफ माइनॉरिटीज़ बहुत ज़्यादा है, challenges बहुत ज़्यादा हैं. The program targets both categories of out-of-school girls. So on one hand, it targets those girls who have dropped out of school with some learning, had some access, but could not finish primary, middle or high. And then it targets those group of girls who never went to school, who never had any access to formal schooling and have remained out of school because of displacement, emergency, child marriage, poverty or various such issues. The program has 3 key strands. Remedial learning is the first strand, which has benefited almost 18,000 plus girls in a span of 24 months. The second is vocational skills and livelihoods, which has benefited 3,200 plus girls aged 14 to 21. And then we had a very core component component of life skills based education which enabled all these girls, regardless कि वो TVET का हिस्सा थी या remedial learning का हिस्सा थी, all girls regardless of in whichever program they were enrolled went through a very comprehensive component of life skills based education so they could tackle harmful gender and societal norms. The program has operated through the program hubs, which are the demonstration sites that we customized and created in each of these 3 targeted locations. वहाँ पे program elements सारे operated हैं. हमारे TVET की labs हैं, primary, middle, high classes हैं, online teaching के लिए center है which we created with the help of EdCasa. Then there's a life skills program going on, sessions on menstrual hygiene. It's an active space, full of life, full of vibrancy. Girls will talk more about them in the next session. But this program hubs were created as demo sites, as a model spaces, कि जहाँ पे program elements हमने test out किए. First cohorts of these program elements were implemented in these program sites, and then they were replicated in downstream partners. We selected 275 schools comprised of government, private, non-formal centers, ताकि जितना हम program को वसी कर सकें, जितना बढ़ा सकें, उतना ज़्यादा हम मुतासरा इलाकों तक पहुँचें. The first strand, remedial learning, was crafted in such a way that we are able to offer a solution for every out-of-school girl. So for instance, someone who has never been to school, we have a customized program of 3 months which aims to provide remedial burst of intensive learning in literacy and numeracy. After the completion of this 3 months program, she can be mainstreamed into grade 1 or 2 depending on the age. For those who have dropped out with some learning, we have 6 months short-term program and 12 months long-term program, after which they can complete their primary, middle and secondary. Their enrollment into short-term or long-term is dependent upon when they dropped out of school. For a girl who has dropped out of class 3, she was enrolled into an accelerated program of long-term primary to complete her primary PEC exam in a span of 12 months. Similarly, for instance, someone who has dropped out of grade 7 and could not finish grade 8, she goes through a comprehensive 6 months program of second chance learning to take her PEC grade exam. And we had a small pilot for metric as well, जिन बच्चों ने 9वीं से छोड़ दिया, उनको 1 साल में 9वीं का थोड़ा सा कैचअप का हिस्सा और 10वीं की तैयारी कराई, so that they could also take the BICE exam. The program locations were spread all across the district. So from the program hub, we traveled to almost 150 km of radius to recruit and enroll these girls. And we targeted the toughest locations of Cholistan, desert, Thar desert, some previously flood affected areas of Rohi Bank, etc. और यहाँ पर आपको spread भी ज़्यादातर नजर आ रहे हैं. And this gives an aerial view of, if you could play the video, this gives an aerial view of the type of centers that we established in these places where there was no public or private school within the radius of 3 kilometers, as you can see. And this is a very short video of the program being operated in a government school, who are strong supporters of this program. And this is a small video of a remedial learning class going on in our program hub. So it's all very activity based, designed to capture the interest of girls, कि वो learning को शौक से समझें, इसको burden ना समझें. It's all very interactive. An online live class going on in a number of our program hubs in partnership with EdCasa. It's a one-to-many model called connected classrooms. In terms of vocational skills, we partnered with TEFTA and NAFTAC, the Kamyab Jawan initiative, to extend certified marketable skills to girls aged 14 to 21 for decent income and livelihoods. And we also partnered with some of our institutions and downstream partners such as Carvan, who see us now with us, Danish Sahab. Thank you so much for your partnership. And we had these labs in 3 of the targeted districts of Muzaffargarh, Bahawalpur and Rahim Yar Khan. We also exposed them all to a 1-week training on financial literacy and entrepreneurship so that they could have market linkages and be easier to be placed with jobs. Life skills was a very interactive and a very core component of this program. It's very important in these contemporary times to equip girls with the knowledge of mental health, confidence building, protection, menstruation, so that they are able to tackle those gender norms and challenges that they face in their everyday lives. For this component, we also partnered with Sharmeen Ubaid Chinoy Films, who created customized animated films on 5 core subjects of menstruation, financial literacy, education, self-awareness and nutrition, ताकि हमारा focus सिर्फ education ना रहे, but it extends beyond education to protection and overall empowerment of our girls. The program has just concluded in the month of March, and we also had one evaluation conducted by Oprah and University of Cambridge on the program findings. It was a mixed methods approach where they adopted both qualitative and quantitative methodology to come up with results. They wanted to know if the program has been beneficial in terms of improving learning outcomes of students, what impact did it have on the lives of the beneficiaries, what are the lessons learned, what are the best practices. In terms of the findings, we found that improved learning outcomes through accelerated learning is possible in some of the most difficult circumstances. जिन बच्चियों ने स्कूल 3-3 साल से छोड़ा हुआ था, they were able to score very good marks in their PEC exams and in their formative assessments. Similarly, we thought that transport is a very vital intervention with secondary schools. Government का इंसाफ program भी चल रहा है, Stride Insaf program, which offers transport in the afternoon shifts, and we think that transport is very, very essential in order to solve the problem of access to education. Informative sessions with girls and parents were considered to be very, very vital. Any initiative can only be implemented with concurrent support of parents, community members, so that there is a buy-in at the community level. We also thought that technology provides the solution to tackle the problem of qualified teachers. So in areas where we could not find qualified teachers, especially for metric science classes, we partnered with CASA to provide online live classes being live streamed from Lahore in those locations. Lastly, we think that very holistic program, comprehensive program like Siyani Saheli with multiple layers of learning definitely has appetite to be scaled up, and we really call on all government partners, solution providers, youth organizations, development partners, CSOs to join us, take collective individual actions to help this program scale up. Thank you very much. With this, I would like to now invite Mehak Najam on stage, who will now lead a small interplay between beneficiaries and the solution providers. Over to you, Mehak. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sabha. Thank you to everyone for being here. A very interesting crowd, I must say. This is a very exciting segment for us because over here we're going to actually have a small representation of the 3 partnerships that took place under this program. So in the first iteration of the program, as Sabha just mentioned, we activated 3 partnerships. All these provided a very varied and very diverse learning experience for the girls. The connecting of these beneficiaries to avant-garde experience sets and learning sets for these young girls was definitely a very big learning experience for us, and we're also looking forward to taking these partnerships on to the second stage of our program. So kicking off, I would like to invite our 3 partners. If Ma'am Sharmeen can join us on stage, Ma'am Sadaf, and Ma'am Anam from CASA. I would also like to invite our 4 girls who would be having a discussion on what they took from these programs and how, what were the basic learnings and how they were different from the education sets that they've received in our other programs. So our first partnership was with Shameen Ubaid Janoy Films, a very exciting one, I must say. These young ladies got to experience and got a chance to experience the world of film and cinema from an organization run by a brand name globally. So a huge round of applause for everything that went on and all the content that was created under this partnership as well. I would like to ask two of our ladies, Eamon and Saima, to actually talk about what they learned from this, from the films that they were shown, and what they took away from this experience. Thank you. Over to you, girls.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मेरा नाम एमन अली है एंड आई एम फ्रॉम मुजफ्फरनगर।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मेरा नाम साइमा यूसुफ है और मैं भी मुजफ्फरनगर से रिलेट करती हूँ। इसके अलावा मुझे क्रिकेट भी बहुत पसंद है।
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आई वांट टू टेल यू दैट कि आईटीए के हवाले से मैं आपको पहले ये बताऊंगी कि मैंने इसमें इसलिए एडमिशन लिया कि ताकि मैं स्किल सीख सकूं और अपने फ्यूचर को बेस्ट बना सकूं।
हम इदारा तरीम गाई के बहुत ज़्यादा शुक्रगुजार हैं जिनकी बदौलत हमें स्किल्स तो हासिल हुई, इसके अलावा बहुत ज़्यादा इंफॉर्मेशन भी मिली। जैसे सॉफ्ट फिल्म्स में हमें बताया गया कि आप अपनी लाइफ के में आने वाली मुश्किलात को एक फिल्म्स के थ्रू कैसे लोगों को ट्रांसफ़र कर सकती हैं।
और ऐसी फिल्म्स एक ऐसा था कि हमें इसमें बहुत ही ज़्यादा सीखने का मौका मिला। तो इसी वजह से मैं आपको ये बताऊंगी कि पहले तो हमने कभी भी नहीं सोचा था कि हमें फिल्म्स और सिनेमा की बदौलत सीखने के इतने मुतहर्रिक मौके मिलेंगे।
इन फिल्म्स में हमें ऐसी ऐसी बातें दिखाई गई हैं जो कि हमारी रोज़मर्रा ज़िंदगी में आने वाली मुश्किलात के बहुत ज़्यादा करीब हैं। इन मुश्किलात पर ना तो कोई बात करता है और ना ही करना चाहता है।
जैसा कि बचपन की शादियां हो गई और इज्तिमाई ज़्यादती, जैसे कि किंग क्रेव केसेस हो जाते हैं और हेल्थ एंड हाइजीन और ऐसे बहुत से मसाइल जो कि हमें हर महीने स्कूल जाने से रोकते हैं।
इन फिल्म्स में हमें सिखाया गया है कि बेस्ट न्यूट्रिशन आपके लिए कितनी ज़रूरी है और आपको माली तौर पर भी इंडिपेंडेंट होना चाहिए। इसके अलावा आप अपनी रोज़मर्रा की ज़िंदगी में जो सीखते हैं उसको बेहतर कैसे यूटिलाइज़ कर सकते हैं और इसके अलावा बहुत कुछ।
और मेरे लिए ये सबसे ज़्यादा अहम और यादगार बात ये थी कि इन फिल्म्स के ज़रिए मुझे ये मौका मिला कि हम लोगों को बता सकें कि हम कौन हैं और कहाँ से आए हैं और क्या बनना चाहते हैं एंड हमारा एम क्या है एंड व्हाट यू वांट टू डू या व्हाट इज़ दिस, कि हम क्या करना चाहते हैं और व्हाट हाउ वी लिव अ लाइफ।
इसके अलावा हम जस्ट एक मोबाइल के थ्रू अपनी पूरी लाइफ को डिस्कस कर सकते हैं कि हमारी लाइफ में ये डिफ़िकल्टीज थी, ये परेशानियाँ थी, हमने इनको ऐसे ऐसे सॉल्व किया है और ये सब कुछ सॉफ्ट फिल्म्स की वजह से हुआ है।
और इसके अलावा जो सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस था, इसके हम बहुत ही अच्छा मालूम, क्योंकि बेसिक चीज़ हमारे लिए सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस ही होता है और उसकी तरह हमें बाहिम्मत और बासलाहियत होने का मौका मिला।
नाउमीदी से बहुत दूर आज हम अपनी ज़िंदगी से बहुत ज़्यादा खुशहाल और मुतमईन हैं।
थैंक यू सो मच।
Great words indeed, by someone so young. If Ma'am Shameen can actually say a few words and shed some light on what actually went on with the program and her side of the story.
Thank you so much. First, I'm going to play 2 videos that kind of give you the ethos of what we were trying to do with the students and taking learning to where they live and equipping them with critical life skills that I feel will help them not only become more confident, but go on to have some sort of a career, become financially independent. So just to give you a snapshot of what we had and what we have been doing with them for the last 6 months. While they figure out the technical difficulties, I just want to start off by saying that when we got into this partnership, the idea was threefold. The first was, what are the critical life skills these girls need? So we created the animated films which talked about nutrition, which talked about health, which talked about financial literacy, which talked about self-awareness and being an active citizen in society, and it also talked about personal hygiene. That was just one component of it. Then we thought about equipping the girls about telling their stories. It's extremely important to understand where these girls come from and what their everyday reality is. When we began our workshops, we empowered the girls with a mobile phone. Then we asked each girl to go out and create a story. We partnered about 3 or 4 girls together. And the kind of stories they went and found, that spoke to them about their life, their society, their community, their friends, it gave them a sense of confidence. And it was probably the first time, as many of these girls told us, that they were talking about things that they had never spoken about. So some of the things that we unearthed are taboo subjects, the violence that takes place in their life, the things that they see on an everyday basis. But it's important for them to vocalize those issues. And we used film. We taught them how to create films. And then they went out, created the films and came back, and then we screened the films for them. And just hold off for 1 second. And then they went off and did that. And then we built this mobile cinema that goes village to village. We went to over 50 villages across the region, taking the films that we have created not only for this program, but the films that we have been creating for the better part of a decade, educating girls about their legal rights, educating girls about abuse, educating girls about how to stand up and be a better citizen, what democracy is, how they can participate in their communities, what kind of voices that they can have, what an active voter is, what are their rights as citizens of Pakistan. And each video we showed them also had a discussion with it. So we would show them something and then we would engage with the girls, ask them what they see around them, what they've learned from these films. And there were some very interesting discussions that have ensued from it. It's not simply about screening films, it's about having critical engagement with these girls, because they have a lot to say, and unfortunately, they are given very few opportunities to actually speak. So I'm going to show 2 films back to back that tell you about the kind of work that we've been doing. If we can have the film on screen. हमारे मोबाइल सिनेमा जो है वो 400 से ज़्यादा लोकेशंस पे जा चुका है, and every town we go to there is a new story. बाहर एक बहुत बड़ी स्क्रीन है और अंदर कोई 12 सीटें हैं. So we are able to show content not only to men and to boys outside, but to women inside also.
हमारे पास जो फिल्म्स हैं उसके अंदर एजुकेशनल और इंफॉर्मेटिव लेसन्स हैं बहुत सारे, और उसके अंदर बच्चों के, औरतों के और ह्यूमन राइट्स के बारे में अवेयरनेस है.
अपनी बेटी को उसकी शादी होने
इस टॉपिक्स के ऊपर हम लोगों ने इनको एनिमेटेड कार्टून फिल्म्स दिखाई है ताकि बच्चे उनसे सीखें और ओपनली इन चीज़ों के बारे में डिस्कशन कर सकें.
सारा अवेयरनेस प्रोग्राम बहुत अच्छा है. आई थिंक कि ये ऐसे प्रोग्राम्स होने चाहिए और उन इलाकों में भी होने चाहिए जहाँ इन सब चीज़ों की बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है. हर किसी के ड्रीम्स होते हैं, लेकिन बहुत सी लड़कियाँ जो होती हैं वो सोचती हैं बस ये नहीं हो सकता, लोगों ने कह दिया हम नहीं कर सकते. इस बात से भी वो अवेयर होंगे कि हम ये कर सकते हैं, वो करके दिखाएं.